Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Wells of Wall Street. This is an IOTA video for you guys today, number 839 in the roster of the Wells of Wall Street channel. Welcome if you are new, welcome back if you've been with us for some time. Either way, if you haven't done so already, smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And do hit that like button also, loads of different topics and discussions on this channel always. Don't forget to check those out after this one, of course. We're going to go into two topics here for IOTA today. Just a quick update on the EBSI aspects. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, we will go into a bit more detail shortly in a second. And of course, we'll talk about EVM as well, which was something that was brought up in a recent AMA last week, I think it was, between IOTA and KuCoin team. Really interesting to see that development and how we can push IOTA forwards and ultimately potentially that price point going up in the near future as well, based on the fact that we're on the very much the verge of IOTA being fully adopted and integrated in majority of systems worldwide and especially in Europe. So let's go straight into these guys as a topic. So the EBSI, the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, a few years old now, but the initiation behind here was to try and create frameworks, not necessarily legislation as such, but certainly frameworks as to how blockchain could work within the European Union in particular. And of course, other continents and countries around the world are doing their own systematic approaches to this area of development and advancement in technology. The utilization, of course, as well, additionally to this, is artificial intelligence, 5G, 6G, cloud, all these awesome things that are coming. Well, maybe not so awesome in some instances, but let's see what happens. So the idea behind this was essentially to, as I said, create these ecosystems, create these frameworks. And about 2-3 years ago, maybe even longer, I can't exactly remember when it started, but IOTA became a part of this initiation, the commercial procurement. So procurement, by the way, guys, is pretty much when an organization or a government has a team or has an ambition to identify certain suppliers or service providers to utilize from a contractual perspective or just use within their own industry. So like the healthcare, for example, is quite a unique one for procurement. Like, where do they get their PPE? Where do they get the medicine from? All these kind of things, right? And every now and then you get a review of, okay, do we need to change our supplies? Can we save money? This, that, and the other. But in this instance, a bit different in the sense that blockchain, yes, it's been around for 15 odd years. Well, arguably it's been around longer, but the ultimate thing is that it kind of relatively got switched on around 2007 with Bitcoin, and since then the development has occurred significantly to the point where probably the last 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, there's been a big discussion around the utilization of cryptocurrency as a value opportunity, people making money, buying things with crypto, etc. But now we've got the real world asset aspects, real world asset tokenization, the utility of that, the NFT aspects of this. I'm not talking about just pieces of art, I'm talking about anything and everything. I've got a big video on that. Won't go into huge detail. I'll leave that at the end of this one for a bit more of a breakdown on the evolution of NFTs, where we're going with that right now. So this was from January last year, which was announcing that IOTA went through to phase 2A. Now, I can't remember the exact amount of companies that were involved initially. I'm pretty sure it was well over 20, and it got broken down to, I think, about 3 companies, of which IOTA was one of those, which is absolutely fantastic news as an investor, as a holder of IOTA, and one in general that is very interested and excited about the technological advancements that IOTA can bring as a blockchain technology and company. So we've got this aspect, the pre-commercial procurement PCP, and they got put through to 2A. Now, this was 2A. I think it was like 2021, maybe 2020 when it first started. They then got put through to phase 2B. Okay, so this is where we are at the moment with the aspect of the progression of this initiative, and we are waiting for that information about phase 3. So it's been pretty much a year, if not just over a year, by a few days or weeks or whatever, as to when we might hear an update. And the general consensus was that phase 2B would be initiated and tested and piloted essentially throughout the whole of 2023, and we wouldn't necessarily get an answer immediately in January. It may take 2 or 3 months for those reporting aspects, the results, etc. So I'm not expecting an answer by the end of January, but I want to put it on everyone's minds and radars that you may see some potential price fluctuation once those results come out. Now, whether it's positive or negative could also depend the swing in the market capacity of that. But I'm quite excited, and I guess the word bullish around IOTA, in the sense that if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll understand my excitement around the technology behind this, the DAG protocol, direct acyclic graph, and what ability IOTA has in a multitude of elements for blockchain and what can be built on it and used for. And I think the EBSI is doing a really interesting job here to understand what contractual protocols and blockchains could be used moving forwards to essentially create that framework for everyone, civilization-wise, in the European Union. It's very interesting. You're talking about a huge market there, guys. Absolutely phenomenal amount of people who would be using this, essentially. Not directly using it, because, as I said before in previous videos, 90% of people won't even know what blockchain or crypto is. They'll just be using it. It will just become part of the stream of how we operate every day. Transportation, healthcare, energy, you name it. It's all within there. So phase 3, even if there is a phase 3 or not, I don't even know how that progresses. I need to look into a bit more detail. I think we'll hear more about that. The main thing from this is that it has progressed quite well, and we will get news very soon. So that's why I'm planting the seed in everyone's mind that this is on the horizon, and it's certainly something to keep an eye out for. So I would suggest regularly looking back or checking the IOTA platforms on social media, etc., for any updates on this, because I think it would be very significant. And I think the timing is imperative as well here, because there's so much going on, of course, in the world of crypto right now. The ETF launches, the halving events coming up, and March is a very interesting kind of date because it's kind of in between all of this. And in general, if you look in the real background, where the RTGS systems are being arguably replaced and evolved right now across the world, this is the remittance system of the financial industry in general, how we operate finance daily, how it's verified, processed, validated, all this kind of stuff, with the ISO 222 compliance involved with that as well. We always earmarked like 2025 being a significant year for CBDC launches and this new full replacement, of which the RTGS system, or the new system, essentially gets switched on this year, or the engine gets turned on, as it were. It doesn't quite start and accelerate until 2025 when it actually starts, operating officially. But all this coming this year, I think it's great timing and a convenient timing that these processes and initiatives have been building up to this point. And it's very much as well in line with all the other projects that we talk about, like Helvetia, Jura, Icebreaker, all these pilot systems around the world. This is one of them, albeit it's not a project led by BIS or anything like that. The fact of the matter is, institutional levels aspects like the European blockchain associations have been pushing this and talking about this and initiating this for a number of years now. So it's very interesting. And of course as well, what this then ties into towards the end of March is the EVM compatibility. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if IOTA gets the nod from the EBSI in the next month or so, and then conveniently flows into this aspect? So this is the IOTA EVM release. Now, IOTA 2.0 has been in fruition for some time, and this is due to be very much in mainnet aspects in this year at some point as well. So going back to that point about timing, it's very interesting indeed. But back to the EVM aspect, I mean, this is quite big. You'll see most chains are already on EVM, if not already, as it were. But this is like relatively crucial, to be honest. So obviously the Ethereum blockchain has been around for a long time. It's very much a something that has a lot of confidence within it, and in general, for running any kind of like protocols, nodes, etc., smart contracts in particular is probably one of the heaviest aspects of IOTA that would work really well with the EVM platforms. It essentially allows you to build those components within the Ethereum system, and this is again back to that point that the Ethereum users are quite huge, the network is huge, but ultimately when you have all these layers, these protocols on top to help things like the feeless aspects, this is where IOTA has a massive benefits that could operate quite nicely into these systems or these new systems moving forward. So It's very interesting adoption, very interesting evolution. And the fact of the matter, as I just said, is the timing of this is very, very good. And I think it's just building onto that excitement that IOTA could have a very significant 2024 into 2025. And again, just reiterates that point that we've got the technology there, we've got the solution to so many problems, and we've got solutions that will evolve things so much. But then also on the background of that is, when does this get released? When does it actually start getting used? And people have always said, well, if IOTA or these other chains are so good, why is the price not moving? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's about timing, guys. It's about timing. You get these things ready, you develop them, you get them in place into relevant infrastructures. And then eventually, when the world is ready, or the systems and the infrastructures are ready, you get it switched on. And I've always said this from day one when I started the channel. I've said it for years before that. I believed that around 2025 would be the year. And I think you'll see significant growth in the big bull run, in my mind, and my opinion, will start towards the end of this year when interest rates start dropping and into 2025. And people will go, oh, this is great, the stock market's this and the other. But actually, the big, huge part of the play here, behind the scenes, is the switch on of all these systems. And we'll start seeing, finally, certainly between 2025 and 2030, these, I would call them like industrial chains. You know, I talk about like Energy Web and all these big companies, and people always like, well, how come this is such a low price when others are bigger and people chase the money, etc., etc. But I've held on, and I've accumulated ones that I feel that are for the future, and IOTA is one of those. And I think that from that point onwards, we're going to see significant change in the markets, because the utility would have increased, the confidence, the visibility of them, the awareness, I think is a big word. The awareness of these companies will be even bigger than ever before, and you'll start seeing those price drives for sure. So if you're an investor aspect, you're going to be quite excited about that. For me, of course, I'm excited on that side. I'm more excited to see the development and the integration, because I think it's something I've been going on for a long time. I'm very passionate about the DAG system in general. If you don't know what DAG is, or direct cyclic graph, you can check out the video I did that was dedicated to that particular topic, which I'll leave at the end of this video, because it is quite phenomenal moving forward with the utilization of the other technology components that we've mentioned before. So there's lots of things happening. It has been a quiet year so far, in my opinion, on crypto, with the exception of ETFs. I think people are finding some things certainly boring, but this is the great time to start understanding what's ahead. We don't really do price predictions on this channel as such. I mean, we delve into it sometimes if people ask, but the point here is that in these boring moments is a great time to manage your portfolios, get things in line, ready for accumulation, etc., before those runs occur. But also to understand that when it is boring, do I want to understand what I'm investing in even more so than ever before? And I take my story back to 2020 when I properly got involved. I was involved in a year or two before that. Didn't go so well, and then I started learning what blockchain really was, and then it started answering questions that I've had for like 10 or so years of how things will actually work, and blockchain is a big significant part of that. And I think that bit of time where we're in the pandemic, where we were bored or whatever, it was a good time to understand that a lot more. And I think this is a great opportunity as well. Yes, you can still accumulate, invest, whatever you want to do, but it's a perfect time in these boring moments to really understand, what am I investing in? What is the technology? What is the company? And when you delve heavily into IOTA, it gets more and more exciting in your mind, in my opinion. And it's certainly something that I would love to see, and I'm pretty confident we will see it from the end of this year onwards. Some significant growth in IOTA, not just as the price, as I said, but the technology in itself. So that's a bit about IOTA, guys. Let's go switch straight to the chart of IOTA before we wrap this video up. I'm trying to keep the videos a bit shorter. I say this every time, never works. But yes, IOTA currently floating at the price of around 26 cents at the moment. So we had a bit of a downward trend all the way down to this fib level here at around 19-20 cents. I did buy in a bit more at this point. I am still waiting patiently for that lower region of around 17 cents. Will it come back to 14? Potentially. But in the way we are at the moment, it's going to be quite some time, maybe a couple months, to see that level again. If it does, it might need some significant kind of announcements, not necessarily with IOTA, but the market in general, for us to get to that area again. However, saying that, we do need to and mentioned that we had this big, huge price surge in November last year with the 100 million announcement from the UAE, etc., in investment in IOTA Foundation, which is quite significant, of course. The development of that region is important to IOTA and blockchain in general. So we saw that uptake. So you could say we definitely overpurchased, and we need to fluctuate ourselves down to a trend line, essentially, that's more in line with a traditional organic approach. So you could argue that if you had a fake trend line here, there's definitely an opportunity to potentially grab again at 20 cents, in my opinion, at some point. In fact, I'll mark that right now, just around these areas. But we have had the uptake again towards that 25 cents. We pushed past that 2 or 3 times in the last week or so to around 26-ish cents. And at the moment, very much stabilizing ourselves there. I personally anticipate that we'll go and retest this 20 cents eventually in the next week or so. And then at that point is really, will we continue the support there, or will we drop back down to retest these lower regions? In my opinion, we do need to do that, because as you can see, we had a lot of resistance on the way up on 2, 3, maybe even 4 occasions in the last sort of 6 to 9 months. And eventually it did penetrate through, but that was with that big announcement. So you can see we retested that area back here around the 23rd of January. I do think that we will come and see that again. Let's see if that occurs. If you remember one of the previous videos we did, at least, we anticipated that this would come down. I thought it would come down a bit lower to around the 17 cents, but it only came back down to around 20. So it's not too far off, but the ultimate mindset that we had was correct. Just perhaps not the full accuracy of where the price may come, but we did say that it would be between one of those fib levels, and it certainly was, for sure. So maybe it was a bit ambitious to see that it would maybe come down to here, but it shows you a good confidence on IOTA, and it shows you that the holder numbers are definitely increasing, in the sense that they really don't want to lose too much money on this. They want to try and stabilize it as much as possible and make those raises again, and particularly those who perhaps missed out on those opportunities to sell at the top, whether it was greed or whatever initiation that was. There is opportunity to regain those on a DCA aspect as well. So in terms of right now, the RSI on the bottom left here, they're quite middle ground. So for me, I'm not accumulating at all at this moment in time. When those drop back down to around 40, and well, maybe not 40, at least like 45 on that 14-day, for example, again, that might take a week or two to do so. That's where we might see the drop back down to around 22, 20 cents. That is certainly, again, a bite point for me, but I do still have the bigger pots of money in the limit orders at these lower regions of around 17 and 14 cents. I don't anticipate the 14 one to come down, but certainly got a good chunk in the 17 cents area, just purely from that retest theory that we just mentioned a minute ago. And the indicators on the right hand side are suggesting that IOTA is having a good little run over the last month or so. Albeit it's negative on the month, it's still very respectable, and it's still quite strong in the other areas, but it does show that the market is slowing down, and many of the assets are showing this kind of philosophy in the indicators as well, which kind of suggests really that we are in that kind of boring momentum again. People just trying to gain back some profits that they may have missed out on, as we just mentioned a minute ago. But this halving event is on people's minds. What will that do to the reaction of the market? And beyond that as well, the interest rates, everything else going on around the world, people are still a bit cautious with what's going on. And disposable income has half disappeared as well. You can see that in a multitude of areas around the world, not just in crypto, but many other markets, and just the way we're doing things in our general lives. So lots to think about, guys. In general, my principal point is that IOTA is a phenomenal technology. It's a phenomenal company. It's got an exciting future ahead, irrespective of the price. But I know that many are here to make money, right? And ultimately, I think that we're going to see some big surprises over these next 18 months. So as I said, it's not financial advice, of course, but it's a good opportunity to learn these projects inside out in these moments of time, and accumulate, of course, in your own means, your own risk assessments behind that as well. Of course, manage your crypto wisely. And that is very much it, guys. Wrapping the video up. It's probably the first video I've done in a long time that's under 20 minutes, so I'm going to try and do this more often. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next IOTA update video. Take care. Bye bye.